Lately, we've been discussing the building blocks of music. All of them, from tempo and dynamics to timbre and pitch and rhythm, help us understand the music that we hear and shape the music that we create. Music is all around us, so it's understandable that we might not give a ton of thought to why music is the way it is. But just like you or I have a life story, music does too. So welcome to the story of music. As far as we know, as long as there's been people, there's been music. So how do you think that people first got the idea to make it? Scientists who study the past, called historians, think that people might have gotten the idea from naturally occurring sounds and rhythms. That means that they heard inspiring sounds around them and then copied those sounds, either accidentally or on purpose, to make the first music. We hear sounds all the time that aren't making music on purpose but are still musical. Birds singing, or pencils scribbling, or even the dull roar of a washing machine can all be musical sounds. It just depends on whether or not we're listening for the music. We sometimes refer to the earliest humans as cavemen, and I like to sing a song called "Make Music Like a Caveman" with our younger students at DTA to help us figure out the musical sounds that we can make with just our bodies and our voices. So no matter how old you are, I'd like to invite you to sing along. We're making music like a caveman, making music like a caveman. We've got the skills and we've got a plan to make music like a caveman. Here we go. So bend your knees and get yourself ready. Wiggle around like you're made of spaghetti. Watch what I do and listen carefully, 'cause now it's time to repeat after me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa. Before long, people started creating bigger musical ideas, which eventually turned into songs. And naturally, they wanted to share those songs with one another, so they explained their musical ideas out loud and in person. Now, explaining ideas this way works pretty well, but it has one major problem. Let me show you. I'm going to explain a 4-measure rhythm of quarter notes and quarter rests, and then we're going to clap it together. So try your best to remember what I say. Okay, measure 1 is going to go note, rest, then measure 2 is going to go rest, note. Measure 3 is going to go note, rest, note, and then measure 4 is going to go rest, note, rest. Okay? 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you probably had a pretty hard time remembering those patterns, and that's okay. It can be really hard to remember a lot of information at once, and musicians used to have this problem all the time until they started doing a simple but very important thing. They started writing the music down. It seems like a no-brainer to us, but writing things down allows ideas to be shared more easily, and it allows us to go back and check what we've written if we ever forget our idea. It's kind of like getting groceries, right? You might be able to remember everything that you need from the store, but if you write it down, you can be extra sure. Right now, you're hearing the oldest written song that anyone's ever found. It's called the Hurrian Hymn, and as you listen, you might be thinking that it isn't very special. In truth, the reason it's special isn't for any musical reason at all, but only because it's really old and someone wrote it down. It's important to mention that at this time, even though music was starting to be recorded in writing, each musician wrote their music down in a way that they had made up themselves. That means that you'd only understand what they had written if you could understand their particular musical language, which is a really big problem that musicians would solve way later in the story. The next development in the story might catch you by surprise, especially in this setting. You see, Around the same time as the events of the Old Testament in the Bible, teachers started teaching music to students for the first time. Before the biblical period, the main way that someone might learn about musical ideas or how to play a musical instrument was from a family member who already played. Musical teachers allowed anyone to learn about music, whether they came from a musical family or not. Nowadays, the same thing is true. You can still get a private music teacher, especially if you want to learn an instrument like guitar. But we also have general music teachers at schools like DTA, so that everyone can learn the basics of music making. There was another big change that happened in the biblical period as well, but we'll save that one for next time. Catch you then.